Welcome back to the podcast. It is fantastic to be here with you. I hope you settle in, grab yourself a cup of tea, or if you're driving, the way I often am when I'm listening to my podcasts, here's to you and me having what feels like a nice little intimate chat. I have a cup of tea here and I'm ready to get going. What I want to chat to you today about on this podcast is what I wish I knew. If I was starting over, back when I was tired, unfit, bloated, uncomfortable in my own skin and in my own clothes, the things that I wish I knew. I've written them out here that I'm going to share with you. And the goal for me is to help you feel less stuck so that you can become fit, healthy, centered and calm. Because sometimes it's not what we think is making us stuck. It's what we don't know that's keeping us stuck. And it's the not knowing that can kind of keep us going around in circles. Because you spend so much of your time on the wrong things, trying to fix the wrong things, rather than actually getting to the root cause of what's going on and tackling that. So that's what this episode's all about. And like I say in all my episodes, if you can just take one thing from this that will help you, well, then that's a job well done from me. The first one that I have down here is that if you don't make time, you won't have time. And I think this is one of the biggest cons we tell ourselves, that if we don't have time, we'll somehow magically find time throughout the day. And I was chaotic and disorganized and not routined and not structured for many, many years. You probably wouldn't think of it looking at me now, just how routine I am now, but I didn't used to be. I used to wake up in the morning, stressed out and anxious, jump out of bed, jump into work. Everything was just about jumping and running and just going from A to B so fast. And I used to think to myself, I'll just fit it in somehow. I'll just fit in my workout somehow. I'll just fit in my lunch somehow. And I wish I'd known back then that that's just an arse ways of trying to do things. And if you don't make time, you're not going to create time throughout the day, because everything else is just going to come first. Work is going to come first. It's too easy to put work first. All you have to do is open your email box and you can pretend to yourself that everything there is so important. Like, it's easy to pretend that an emergency has just happened in work. It's the same with the kids. You can always find something that just must be done immediately. And I think that recognizing this, if I had recognized back then that I was just creating constantly barriers in the way of me focusing on myself, that life would have just been so much easier, because I would have said, okay, well, look, the real problem here is that I'm not creating time for myself and that I'm never going to find time. I have time when the kids go to bed, but that time for me is sitting on the couch, having a cup of tea, and I'm never going to change that time. Never. I'm never going to end up doing anything for myself in that time. And I like that. I like to know that. If I had known then what I know now, I would have just created time in my calendar as non-negotiables. And I would have treated the time to do my Thrive times, like to do my workouts and my breath work, as more important than anything else in my calendar. Like, if somebody told you that you had no choice but to go to the hospital or the doctors or the dentist 3 times a week at 7 a.m. and you just had no choice, you'd just get on with it. You'd stick it in your calendar and everything else would just have to revolve around it. And that's what I've come to realize, that when I have stuck these things now in my calendar as time for me, everything else just has to work around it. And it just becomes part of the conversation. Like, oh yeah, Jessica, that's right. I know you're never free at 1 o'clock on a Monday, which I'm not, because actually on a Monday is at 1 is when I mostly do my Thrive times. Or Jessica, oh, I know you're never free at 6 p.m. on a Thursday. Like, it just becomes part of the conversation, specifically with your family. Like, if you are doing your Thrive time or your workouts first thing in the morning, it just becomes part of the family routine over time. But it's all right if it's not initially. If people are coming in or making noise, or if you woke somebody up by accident getting up early, don't let these things be blockers to you not doing it again. Just figure out a way around it. Like, okay, well, next time I'll be quieter, or next time they'll know, like, they'll get into the habit of you being in the habit. So even though it might feel messy in the first while you're creating this time for yourself, and it might feel like other people are pissed off with you and that you're just being really selfish and you're feeling really guilty, that'll all pass. So create the time for yourself on your calendar, make it as non-negotiables. And even if you really struggle at the beginning to do your workout in that time, at least go for a cup of coffee in that time outside in your back garden and journal. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like, you can have that time in your journal to do your workouts. However, if you wake up and you just know you're not going to get it done, still go and use the time for yourself. Just get into the habit of creating time and making time for yourself. I swear to God, I wish I had known that. I wouldn't have put myself through so much heartbreak of spending every day just trying to wing it and always feeling like I was chasing my tail. I never made time to eat. I just winged it every day. I know it's easy to think that I was always routine, but I wasn't. And that's why I was so unhealthy. I often skipped lunch and didn't make time for lunch and would just grab something at my desk. I never made time for my workouts. In fact, as a fitness coach, working out was the one thing that I never made time for myself. I was much likely to make time for eating meals than I was to do a workout. I always crammed in workouts at just these random slots. And that's why I stayed so unhealthy and inconsistent and not where I am now. And I recommend you do the same if you feel like that too. Number 2, my shaky foundations were always going to get in the way of any good intentions. I always talk about shaky foundations. I think it's a really great analogy for what and how I help women over 40 in Thrive Academy, that I was unhealthy for so long because I was trying to build my healthy habits on shaky foundations. Now, what happens when you try and build a house on shaky foundations? It crumbles. It doesn't matter how much time and effort you put in the house. It could have the nicest windows in the world, the nicest floors in the world, but if you're building it on broken wood or sand, it'll crumble. That's just nailed on fact. And it was the same for me. I was spending all this time polishing up my healthy habits, but I was trying to build them on habits of stress, overwhelm, and an all or nothing mindset. So those habits were always going to be impossible for me to get consistent because the foundations weren't right. And this is something that I wish I had known. If I had known that 10 years ago, I would have been fit and healthy 10 years ago. I would have felt centered and calm 10 years ago. But instead, because I didn't know it, I was constantly trying to make the healthy habits better. And what that looked like for me was more restriction with the food, more obsession, more like reading and getting obsessive about the backs of the packets, more getting obsessed about the grams of sugar in something, in a sauce that I would put in a bolognese, as opposed to just reducing my stress and overwhelm and working there so I wasn't so inclined to eat shite on the couch. It is amazing what I distracted myself with. I needed to reduce my stress and overwhelm so I felt more calm and centered, so implementing healthy habits became simple and natural. The chances of you not eating shite when you're really stressed out and overwhelmed are quite low. The chances of you eating healthy when you're feeling calm and centered is quite high. But we never seem to work on the actual problem. We seem to work on just the symptoms. We seem to all just be obsessed with food when we're going through tough times, rather than actually uncovering what the real problem is, which for most of us is that we're just really stressed out and overwhelmed. Because we've no boundaries, we've no work-life balance, we're working too hard, we're neglecting other parts of us. That's leading us to feel resentful and pissed off and overworked and tired and cranky and emotional. And when you have all those negative feelings all mixing around, you're not going to go and be consistent with workouts or eat healthy all the time. You're not going to want to sit and meditate. You're just going to be walking around feeling shit all the time. So it makes sense that we go underneath and we work on building solid foundations. And I wish I had known that before, you know that? I wish I had known that before. Another thing that I had wished I'd have known before, I don't think I said that sentence right, was that the thing I was avoiding was the thing I needed most. Like, now I know when I avoid meditating, when I avoid doing breath work, that's the very time I need it the most. I wish I had known then that for all of us, the thing we're avoiding is the thing we need the most. Think about it. What are you scared to do? It's probably the one thing that will change your life. Maybe you're just so stuck not doing workouts, and workouts are the one thing that's going to unlock such a fantastic sense of mobility and strength and confidence inside of you. But it's the one thing you're avoiding. Or maybe you're go, 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 go all day long. and you can't seem to stop. I bet you if you're like that, you're quite stressed out and overwhelmed, but you wouldn't think of sitting down and doing some breath work or doing meditation. You'd much prefer to obsess about your food or do an extra workout. So a lot of the time we spend our times avoiding what we really need to do, and because it feels more comfortable just focusing on the thing that we do anyway. I wish somebody had said that to me. Jessica, work on the thing you're avoiding, not on the things you're not avoiding. You don't need to do more of the things you're not avoiding. You need to actually just start doing the thing you're avoiding. And for me, because I was so stressed out and overwhelmed, I'd wake up feeling so anxious every morning. I needed to sit down on a chair and close my eyes for 10 minutes and just practice feeling calm and centered in my body through breath work, just for a few minutes. If I had done that, I would have started to have felt more calm and centered. And from that, my journey to feeling calm and centered would have grown. What is it you're avoiding that actually you need to just go and do it now? And if you did it, you would start to be on that journey towards feeling better than you do now about the thing. Another thing is overcompensating in one area that I felt I was excelling at, or that I knew what to do, and avoiding other areas of my life. You see, when we're not balanced, we're unhealthy, we're out of sync. We're not going to feel as good as we could. So for me, I felt like I was excelling in work. I feel like I'm good in work. I excel in work. I excel at getting things done. I was good at managing a team. Might have made me feel very stressed out, but I grew a gym to become a successful gym. We got a lot of results from many clients. It was a thriving gym in Galway. So I spent more of my time on that. I neglected my relationships at home. I neglected hobbies and nurturing other parts of me, because that all felt too difficult. And it also felt like I had let that part of me go for so long that it was too much of a mountain to climb. Like, me and Joe for a while weren't in a great place because there was so much stress, and it just felt like too much effort and time to go and sort that out between us. It was so much more easier for me to just stay in work and just put out all the fires in work and just stay stuck in work. And it's the same with trying to be relaxed at home and calm at home. It's much easier for me to just throw myself in work than to try to build a more happy, comfortable home life. I didn't want to do breath work. I didn't want to meditate. I wanted to feel centered and calm, but I didn't want to do the action involved. So you'd find me at my computer stressing about work. That was the easier thing for me to do. Just block out the rest of the shit and just focus on work. Maybe it's the same for you. Maybe you're overcompensating in one area of your life and avoiding another. It's not too late to change that now, you know that. Another thing that I wish I had known back then was I wish I'd paid more attention to the stories I'd been telling myself. Like, Jessica, you're not enough as you are, or feeling that I'm not good enough, or feeling that other people are better than me, or feeling that I would never be that person. You know, when you see a person and you're like, wow, they are inspiring, but that's because they're XYZ. And all of those are just stories I told myself. I didn't understand any of this until I learned about limiting beliefs, and stories that we tell ourselves impact our behavior, which impacts our action. So if I believe I'm not enough, that's going to have an impact on my decision making and my actions. I'm going to end up, for example, in the business, if I feel like I'm not enough and what I do isn't enough, I'm just going to add more and more shite to the business. I'm going to do more and more and more stuff. I'm going to devalue everything. So it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy that what I do isn't enough because I'm devaluing everything. So therefore it's not good. Where actually, if I had felt enough and produced fantastic stuff, that would have been fantastic. So if you tell yourself you're unfit and you're never going to get fit and you're never going to get consistent, your action steps, the way you show up is going to be negative, stressed, fearful, and you're going to just end up proving to yourself that you're right. You don't ever stick at things. And I hear it all the time. People tell me that they're never good at sticking with things, or they're never good at following things through, or they're never good at being consistent. And when you do that, you're just You're just writing the ending of the story. So limiting beliefs are really important to identify. It's really important to hear what you're telling yourself and then question it, doubt it, and replace it with an empowering belief. And if you don't do that, you're going to keep going around in loops. But you're going to think it's something else, and you're going to think it's your lack of willpower, or that you've no time, when actually 9 times out of 10, it's a story you tell yourself. It's a story you tell yourself that you picked up along the way, that you heard it from somebody, or over time, you've told yourself it enough times that now you believe it to be true. And the shitty thing about this is that most of us don't know and aren't aware of the story we're telling ourselves. So you really need to move into a place where you are noticing how you're speaking and what's being said to you all the time. I wish I had have known that failure meant I was taking action and that I was on the right path. This is a huge one for me. I used to think that failure meant I was failing, so therefore I should stop. If I started a program, or when I was trying to get fit, or when I was trying to just become more centered, or practice meditation, or learn breath work, when I felt I wasn't good at it, or I wasn't doing well at it, and it wasn't going well for me, I would stop. Because I thought that's what failure was. I thought it was quite finite, that you succeed or you fail, and that's it. Whereas now I realize that failure is really important, and actually you should fail as fast as you can, because you only learn from failure. You only learn from taking action. So you do something, it doesn't work out for you, you tweak it and you keep going. So I didn't know this. So I stopped. The amount of times I've stopped and started has been insane. And I would go around in circles, stopping and starting, because I just didn't. I meet some clients now in Thrive Academy, and they're just like, yeah, that was a shit week. And they carry on and they go for it and they tweak. And it's so impressive and so inspiring and admirable. Because that's what the journey to success is all about. You don't question whether you're going to quit. You don't question whether or not you're going to achieve your outcome. That's nailed on. Of course you are. Like, for people that embrace failure as part of success and are aware that it's part of success, they embrace it. They don't give a shit that they're failing. They're taking action. You don't experience feelings of failure when you're sitting on the couch doing nothing. You don't experience it as much as when you're taking action. And that's the fucked up thing here. That when you start something, you'll experience failure more. And a lot of people get very triggered because of that. And they just take it as a negative and they stop. And they feel more comfortable just going from plan to plan, or just stopping and starting. And this was me. And yeah, you might feel sluggish and like shit in yourself when you're on the couch doing nothing about it. You feel sometimes worse out there in the ring, taking action, and it all going horribly wrong consistently. Because it might all go horribly wrong consistently with whatever you do, until it starts to go right and it flows for you. You know? You might start Thrive Academy and you might start your workouts, and then something will happen in your life and your routine will feel disrupted, or you might struggle to get a handle on your nutrition, and work might start to get really stressful, and you might be taking care of somebody in your family, and all these other factors are going on, and you're just thinking, oh my God, here I go again. I'm just failing at this again, rather than, whoa, these are setbacks and challenges. How am I going to tweak this to work for me? And it is mental how much that held me back in the past. Another thing that I wish I had known was just to keep it really simple. Just to keep the whole thing simple. Like, have a goal, have my actions, and just continue on that journey until I got where I wanted to be. I made everything so complicated, mostly by never focusing on what the actual problem was. Always just distracting myself with what I thought the problem was, especially around food, just getting so obsessed with food, rather than just keeping things simple. I wish I'd tackled every issue head on and not distracted myself with another issue. I wish I hadn't swept so many things under the rug and ignored them. I'm big into confronting the problem head on now, and although my hands still shake when I am about to confront a problem, and although I might still feel shitty in my body while I'm doing it, I still do it now. and I don't shake as much, and there's not so much of a pre-nerve run up to it with whatever the thing is I have to face. And I have had to face some pretty shitty things over the past few years. People letting me down, different bits and pieces here and there. The business nearly went under at one point because I had an accountant that a lot of people in Galway had that kind of fucked up a lot of people's businesses over the course of a couple of years. That's only really been rectified now, and I can't go into any detail about that. But through that time, I got really practiced at having to just open up the email, feel shitty, hands shaking, hands sweating, and just confront it. And I really had to talk to myself every day and just say, confront it, Jessica, confront it. Because the old me used to be so just star the email, not look at it later, I'll think about it later. Oh, whoops, I got too busy later, I'll look at it tomorrow. And I was just the queen of coming up with things that got in the way from me actually confronting the problem. Now I just know taking the long way around a problem is just hell on earth, and it makes things 10 times worse, and the problem just grows. So I try to confront all the problems now head on. When it comes to your fitness and health, if you're not working out, confront that problem and don't try to mask it with different problems. I wish I had not complicated food so much. I wish I just hadn't complicated it all. It's actually very, very simple. The nutrition can be the easiest part of becoming fit and healthy. And if I had acknowledged that actually the act of eating healthy is quite simple, it's the stories and the limiting beliefs and the sugar addiction and the stress and the overwhelm and the lack of boundaries and the not making time is the problem. But actually, it's quite simple to eat a healthy breakfast. It's quite simple to eat a healthy lunch, and it's quite simple to eat a healthy dinner. Like, all of us know how to put on a potato, vegetables, and a piece of chicken, or a vegetarian alternative. Like, we all know that. We all know that porridge is healthy. We all know that like a tuna salad is healthy, or an egg salad or a chicken salad, whatever, is healthy. I wish I had ever known that back then, that eating healthy, we love to distract ourselves with making nutrition complicated, because it helps us, in a sense, avoid what we're trying to avoid. And for me back then, it made more sense to make food more complicated than it was, because I didn't want to confront really the issue that my bedtime routine was all over the place. I wasn't consistent with my workouts. I was overeating. I was eating too much shite. I was drinking like a mad joke at the weekends. It's much easier for me to get obsessed about breakfast, lunch and dinner than it was to confront any of the other stuff. It's much easier for me to bury my head in the sand with all that, to overwork, to work too much. Much easier for me to do that. And it's hard for me to admit that, because I look back, I thought I was genuinely like doing a good thing, working all those long hours. I didn't really realize at the time that it was harder for me to not work than it was to work, which is crazy, because I used to give out about working too much all the time. But actually, it was the easier option for me in hindsight. The harder option, the thing that you're avoiding, the thing that you're not confronting head on, is the thing that's going to keep holding you back. On the nutrition piece, remind yourself that it's actually quite simple. And it's the other things that need to be addressed on our journey to becoming fit and centered and calm. Well, I hope you found this chat helpful. I really hope you did. If you'd like to see anything covered on the podcast, get in touch with me, Jessica at jessicacooke.ie, or DM me on Instagram. I'd love for you, if you would, to rate and subscribe to this podcast and share this episode if you know somebody who could use the help with it. That's all from me. You can do a 5-day free Thrive challenge by going to jessicacooke.ie/challenge. Thank you for listening. I'm going to be doing more on this theme next week, so stay tuned, and thanks again. All my love.